On my birthday, my boyfriend treated me to a whole morning at a spa. And that evening, he organized a beautiful dinner with all our friends at a restaurant. In the middle of dinner, right in front of everyone, he got down on one knee and asked me to marry him. I started crying with emotion and said yes. 1,000 times yes. And that was when he jumped up and shouted, "It's a prank." His best friend was recording everything for his YouTube channel. I ran out of there and went home. We argued. He didn't apologize. And a few days later, I found out he had been cheating on me for months. That was when I came up with the perfect plan for revenge. Stick with me. Because what I did made him cry like a baby. Kaimani and I had been together for 6 years. 6 years of my life dedicated to a man I loved with every fiber of my being. 6 years believing I was building a future with my partner, my best friend, the love of my life. I played myself so hard. My name is Nala. I'm 27 years old. And this is the story of how my world collapsed one January night on my birthday in front of all our friends. But let me backtrack a bit. Kamani and I met at a mutual friend's party when I was 21. He was funny charming. He had that million-dollar smile straight out of a toothpaste commercial that just melted me. We talked for hours about everything. He wanted to be a YouTuber, create content, make people laugh. I thought it was wonderful to have a boyfriend with dreams, with ambition. We moved in together after dating for 3 years. We found a small but cozy apartment in a trendy neighborhood in Atlanta, right near the Beltline. The rent was kind of steep, but splitting it down the middle made it manageable. I worked as an account manager at a digital bank. I made good money, had stability. Kamani worked in marketing and was trying to get a YouTube channel off the ground with his friend Javon. The problem was that Kamani got paid per project and his income was pretty inconsistent. There were months where he made decent money and months where he barely covered his own expenses. And guess who covered the difference? Me. When he couldn't pay his half of the rent, I paid the whole thing. When he needed new equipment for his computer setup, I helped him out. When he didn't have money to go out, I paid for dinner, the movies, everything. And I didn't mind. I swear I didn't mind. I loved him. I thought I was investing in our future, in our relationship. I believed that when things took off for him, we'd be celebrating together. I was so foolish. My birthday fell on a Friday. I had taken the day off and was expecting a quiet day, maybe a romantic dinner that night. But Kaimani had other plans. He woke up before me, which was rare, and he already had that mischievous smirk on his face. "Good morning, birthday girl," he said, bringing me breakfast in bed. "Get ready for the best day of your life." My heart started racing. In recent months, I had made it clear, subtly and not so subtly, that I wanted to get married. We were already living together. We'd put in the time. We had built a life. I wanted to make it official. I wanted the commitment. I wanted to be his wife. "What are you plotting?" I asked, smiling, trying to control my anxiety. "You'll see. First, you have an appointment at the spa at 10 a.m. massage, facial, nails, everything paid for by me." He remembered. Months ago, in a silly conversation while we were watching a movie, I had mentioned that if he ever proposed, I wanted my nails done. It seemed frivolous, but for me the idea of Kamani putting a beautiful ring on a hand with ragged nails bothered me. "Kamani," I started, but he cut me off. "No questions. Today is your day. Just enjoy it." I spent the whole morning at the spa being pampered, feeling like a queen. I got my nails done in a soft, elegant pink, a perfect French manicure. Every time I looked at them, my heart beat faster. It was happening. It was finally happening. When I got back home in the early afternoon, Kamani was dressed up. He smelled amazing and had that sparkle in his eyes. "Tonight, we're grabbing dinner with the crew. Wear that blue dress you look so good in." The blue dress. My favorite dress. The one I had bought for a friend's wedding. The dress Kamani always said made me look stunning. I spent hours getting ready. My hair, my makeup, the dress, the heels. I looked in the mirror and felt beautiful, radiant. I was ready for the most important moment of my life. We got to the restaurant at 7 p.m. It was an Italian spot in Buckhead. Nothing too bougie, but it was the place where we had our first date. A bunch of our friends were already there. Javin and his girlfriend, some girls from my job, other couples we knew. Everyone was hyped, laughing, drinking wine. I could barely eat. I was too nervous, too anxious. Kamani was being super attentive, holding my hand across the table, cracking jokes, being the perfect boyfriend. Every time he moved differently, my heart stopped, thinking it was the moment. After dessert, Kamani stood up. The entire restaurant went silent. Some people at other tables stopped eating to look. I felt my face heating up. My hands started to tremble. Nala, he began, and his voice was steady, clear. We've been together for 6 years, 6 incredible years, full of laughter, adventures, and love. Tears were already starting to form in my eyes. It was happening. It was really happening. You are my best friend, my partner, the person who stands by my side through everything. You support my dreams. You give me strength when I need it. You make me want to be a better man. He got down on one knee. The whole restaurant was watching. I heard someone whisper behind me, "Oh my God," my heart was beating so hard. I thought it was going to explode. "Niala, I love you more than anything in this world," he said, looking me straight in the eyes. "And I want to spend the rest of my life with you." He reached into his pocket. I couldn't breathe. It was happening. Finally, it was happening. "Will you marry me?" "Yes," I shouted even before seeing the ring. Tears were streaming down my face. Yes, yes, yes. And that was when everything fell apart. Kamani jumped up with his arms in the air and shouted at the top of his lungs. "It's a prank." The silence that followed was deafening. I looked at him confused, tears still falling. "What?" I managed to whisper. "It was a prank, baby. Relax." He was laughing. Laughing. "Jevin, did you get it all?" I looked to the side and saw Jevin holding his phone, recording with a huge grin on his face. "I got everything, bro. This is going to be epic for the channel." The restaurant was in absolute silence. Some of our friends looked shocked. Others were clearly uncomfortable. The girls from my job looked at me with pity. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. It was like my brain had shut down, unable to process what had just happened. "Nala, you should have seen your face," Kamani said, still laughing, sitting back in his chair like nothing had happened. It was perfect. Something inside me broke into a million pieces. I got up from the chair so fast I almost fell. I grabbed my purse and without saying a single word ran out of the restaurant. I heard Kamani calling after me, but I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. I got to. The sidewalk and the tears came with full force. They weren't delicate romantic tears. They were violent sobs that shook my whole body. I called an Uber with hands trembling so bad I could barely type the address. Kamani came running out of the restaurant after me. "Yala, wait. What's the problem?" It was just a joke. I turned to him, and the rage I felt was so intense I could taste bile in my mouth. "A joke?" I managed to say between sobs. "You think this was a joke?" "Kamani, you humiliated me." "Nala, chill out. I gave you a spa day. I organized a dinner with everyone. I did everything great. You can't be mad about a little prank." "You humiliated me," I screamed. "And I didn't care that people on the street were staring in front of everyone. You pretended to propose knowing how important that is to me just to make some stupid prank for your friend's channel. You're overreacting." "If you post that video," I said, my voice low but loaded with venom, "I swear to God, Kamani, I will make you regret it." "I'm not joking." The Uber arrived. I got in and slammed the door in his face. I cried the whole way home. The driver, bless his heart, didn't say anything. He just turned up the volume on the music to give me privacy. I gave him 5 stars. When I got to the apartment, I locked the door, went to the bedroom, and collapsed. I cried until I had no tears left. I cried until my head hurt. I cried until I fell asleep from exhaustion, still in my dress and with my makeup ruined. I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of the door. Kamani was back. I heard him walking through the living room, stumbling over something, obviously drunk. A part of me wanted to go out there, scream at him, demand an explanation, an apology. But I didn't. I stayed lying in the dark, staring at the ceiling. And for the first time in 6 years, I asked myself if I really knew the man I shared my life with. And the answer terrified me because the more I thought about it, the more I realized there were signs. Signs I had ignored, justified, rationalized. Kamani was controlling. He always was. He decided what we were going to watch, where we were going to eat, which friends we were going to hang out with. And I accepted it all, thinking I was being understanding. That compromising was part of a healthy relationship. Kamani never apologized. Never. Even when he was clearly wrong, he found a way to flip things, to make it seem like I was being too sensitive, too dramatic. Kamani lived to criticize me. My hair was too wild or unprofessional. My clothes were too tight. I needed to hit the gym. Always disguised as concern or I'm just trying to help you. And I accepted it because I thought he wanted the best for me. And Kamani used my money constantly, and I let him because at the end of the day, when we got married, everything would be ours anyway. Lying there in the dark, I realized something I should have seen a long time ago. Kamani didn't love me. Not really. Kamani liked what I did for him. He liked having someone pay half the rent. He liked having someone cover him when he was broke. He liked having a good-looking girlfriend who supported him. But loving me, respecting me, valuing me. No, never. I had been too blind to see it. The following days were the hardest of my life. Kamani and I barely spoke. I left early for work and came back late. When I was home, I locked myself in the bedroom. He stayed in the living room playing 2K on the PlayStation or editing videos, acting like nothing had happened. 3 days after the prank, he finally came to talk to me. I was sitting on the bed, still in my pajamas, staring at nothing. "No, we need to talk," he said, leaning against the doorframe. "So talk," I replied without looking at him. "You're not going to be mad at me forever over this nonsense, are you?" "This nonsense?" I repeated in disbelief. "Over this nonsense, Kamani, you publicly humiliated me. You faked something you know is important to me just to make a stupid prank to post online. But I gave you a spa day. I organized a dinner. I spent money on you." And there was the phrase I needed to hear. "You spent money on me?" I asked, finally looking at him. "Seriously, Kamani, I pay for this apartment by myself half the time we've been here. When you don't have rent money, who pays? Me. When you need new gear, who loans you the cash? Me. When we go out and you're broke, who pays me?" He turned red. "I thought you did that out of the kindness of your heart. But if money is the problem for you, I'll pay you back." "It's not about the money," I shouted. "It's about respect. It's about you treating me like a human being, not like a joke for your ridiculous channel." "Our channel isn't ridiculous. Get out of here, Kamani. Niala, get out." He left, slamming the door. I heard him cursing in the living room. That night, I texted my best friend, Ayana, who couldn't make it to my birthday because she was traveling for work. I told her everything. She called me instantly, desperate to know if I was okay. "Niala, what a son of A," she said. Furious. I always thought Kamani was a bit of a scrub, but this crossed every line. "I don't know what to do, Ayana. We've been together 6 years. We live together. Our lives are completely intertwined. So what? You going to stay with a dude who disrespects you like that? Who humiliates you publicly just because y'all have history?" She was right. I knew she was right. "I think I'm going to leave him," I said out loud for the first time. And just saying it made it seem more real. "You got to do what's best for you, Nala. But if you ask me, that man doesn't deserve you. He never deserved you." We spent another hour talking. She reminded me of all the times Kamani had made me feel small. All the times he had criticized me, controlled me, used me. Things I had shoved to the back of my mind because it was easier to ignore them than to face them. When I hung up, I had already made a decision. I was going to leave Kamani. I was going to leave that apartment, leave that toxic relationship, and I was going to rebuild my life. The next day, Kamani sent me a text. I was in the bedroom. He was in the living room. "I'm going to sleep at Javan's house this weekend. I think you need to calm down. Have some time alone to realize how unfair you're being to me." I read the message 1, 2, 3 times. Unfair. Unfair. This man had the audacity to call me unfair after publicly humiliating me, after refusing to apologize, after telling me to relax and drop the drama. And now he was playing the victim as if I were the villain in the movie. As if I had done something wrong. The rage I felt was so intense my hands shook holding the phone. He was trying to flip the script. He was trying to make it seem like I was the irrational one, the one overreacting, making things worse than they were. He wasn't going to get out of this looking like the poor little guy. No, not this time. I typed my response, each word loaded with all the fury I felt. Unfair. You humiliated me in front of all our friends. You pretended to propose to me to make a stupid prank. You refused to apologize. You told me to relax. And I'm the one being unfair. You're not flipping this story, Kamani. You aren't the victim here. You aren't welcome in this house anymore. Don't come back. His reply came fast. Seriously, you're going to kick me out of my own house? Seriously? Seriously, after everything he had done, he had the nerve to question me. And his house, the house I paid for half the time when he didn't have money. I didn't reply. I turned off my phone and threw it on the bed, shaking with pure rage. This man had used me, disrespected me, humiliated me, and now he was trying to play poor me, trying to make it look like I was being cruel to him. No. Hell no. He wasn't going to rewrite this narrative. 15 minutes later, I heard the front door open and close. I looked out the window and saw Kaimani throwing a duffel bag into the trunk of his car. He got in and drove off. I sat on the bed and took a deep breath. That was it. It was over. I called my mom, told her everything. She and my dad were furious. That little boy, my mom said, using that tone she used when she was truly angry. I've always been polite to him, always treated him well, but I always thought there was something off about him, something fake. I was an idiot, Mama. I was with him for 6 years. I supported him, paid his bills. You weren't an idiot, she interrupted me. You were kind. You were loving. You were everything a partner should be. He's the one who didn't deserve you. I need to get out of here. His name is on the lease along with mine, but I can't stay here anymore. Then come home, baby. Your room is just how you left it. Come home and we'll fix. You pretended to propose to me to make a stupid prank. You refused to apologize. You told me to relax. And I'm the one being unfair. You're not flipping this story, Kamani. You aren't the victim here. You aren't welcome in this house anymore. Don't come back. His reply came fast. Seriously, you're going to kick me out of my own house? Seriously? Seriously, after everything he had done, he had the nerve to question me. And his house, the house I paid for half the time when he didn't have money. I didn't reply. I turned off my phone and threw it on the bed, shaking with pure rage. This man had used me, disrespected me, humiliated me, and now he was trying to play poor me, trying to make it look like I was being cruel to him. No. Hell no. He wasn't going to rewrite this narrative. 15 minutes later, I heard the front door open and close. I looked out the window and saw Kaimani throwing a duffel bag into the trunk of his car. He got in and drove off. I sat on the bed and took a deep breath. That was it. It was over. I called my mom, told her everything. She and my dad were furious. That little boy, my mom said, using that tone she used when she was truly angry. I've always been polite to him, always treated him well, but I always thought there was something off about him, something fake. I was an idiot, Mama. I was with him for 6 years. I supported him, paid his bills. You weren't an idiot, she interrupted me. You were kind. You were loving. You were everything a partner should be. He's the one who didn't deserve you. I need to get out of here. His name is on the lease along with mine, but I can't stay here anymore. Then come home, baby. Your room is just how you left it. Come home and we'll fix everything. I cried with relief. I had a plan. I had an escape route. On Monday, I called work and asked for a few days off. My boss, who was at that disastrous dinner, was super understanding. Nala, take all the time you need. And just so you know, everyone in the office is on your side. What he did was cruel. I spent the day packing my things. Essentials, clothes, toiletries, laptop, important documents. I'd leave the furniture and the rest for later. First, I needed to get out of there. Kamani hadn't come back home, hadn't called me, hadn't sent me any messages, nothing. And that somehow hurt even more. 6 years together, and he couldn't even be bothered to fight for me, to try to explain himself, to make the slightest effort. I tried to send a text to Kaimani just to make it clear I was moving out and that he could come back to the apartment. The message didn't deliver. I tried calling straight to voicemail. The son of a had blocked me. He had blocked me as if I were the bad guy in the story. As if I had done something wrong. I texted Javon. Hey Jean, just wanted to let you know you won't have to lend your couch to Kamani anymore. I'm moving out so he can go back and have the apartment. Javon replied almost immediately. He's not here with me, Nala, but I'll text him to let him know. I frowned. I read his message confused. What did he mean he wasn't there? Wasn't he sleeping at his house? No, haven't seen Kiani since your birthday dinner. A chill ran down my spine. If Kamani wasn't with Javon, where was he? He had left the house on Sunday, saying he was going to sleep at his best friend's place. Where the hell had he spent the last few days? I messaged some of our mutual friends, some coworkers of his I knew. Nobody knew where he was. Nobody had seen him. The truth came on Tuesday afternoon in a way I never would have expected. I was at work trying to focus on a report when I got a text from an unknown number. Hi Nala, it's Darius. I work with Kamani at the ad agency. We met a couple of times when you came to pick him up. Sorry to butt in, but I heard you're looking for Kamani. My stomach churned. Darius was one of the editors who worked on the same projects Kamani sometimes picked up. Hi Darius. Do you know where he is? Look, I don't know exactly what your situation is right now, but I think Kaimani is staying at Sia's place. Soraya. The name dropped like a bomb. Soraya was one of the younger analysts at the agency where Kamani worked. She had started there about 8 months ago, fresh out of college, full of energy and ideas. Kamani had mentioned her a couple of times, always casually. Soraya suggested a dope campaign today. Soraya is good at editing photos. Soraya is going to happy hour with the crew. We had gone out a couple of times in a group with her and other coworkers. She was nice, outgoing, always laughing at his jokes. I had actually liked her. What a fool I was. Soraya, I repeated, my voice sounding strange. Soraya from the agency. That's the one. Darius confirmed. Look, Nala, I didn't want to be the one to tell you this, but the two of them are arriving together at the office and leaving together, and they seem real close, you know, like way more than just friends or coworkers. Every word was a stab wound. How long has this been going on? I asked, my voice coming out in a whisper. I don't know for sure, but Nala, they've been moving like that for a while now. Too close. At least a few months. That's it. I'm sorry I have to tell you this. I couldn't say anything. Thanks for telling me, Darius. For real. I called Ayana immediately. She answered on the first ring. Nah, what's wrong? A coworker of Kamani's just texted me. I said, my voice shaking. He says he thinks Kamani is with Sarah. They arrive and leave work. Together. Darius says they seem intimate. That son of Ayana snapped. Nia, I am so sorry. I hung up the phone and sat there in shock. It wasn't just the prank. It wasn't just the public humiliation. It was betrayal. Months of betrayal. And suddenly everything made sense. Why he never had time for me. Why he was always on his phone. Why he seemed so distant in the last few months. And the prank. He simply didn't care about my feelings. I was content. Entertainment. A way to get views for that pathetic channel. What was he going to do next time? Pretend he was dead? Tell me he had lost all our money? Every major milestone of my life would turn into material for YouTube, and I would stay there. The idiot girlfriend who accepted everything, who supported him, who paid the bills while he used our entire relationship as a script for increasingly cruel jokes. But he kept me around just for the apartment because I paid the bills when he couldn't, because it was easier to have a girlfriend at home paying half or everything while he had fun with the other woman outside. My phone rang that night. It was Kamani. I hesitated for a second, but I answered. My voice came out icy. What do you want, Kamani? We need to talk about the apartment, Nala. Of course. Of course it was about the apartment, not about us, not about what he did, about money. What about the apartment? How am I supposed to pay for it alone? The rent is too high. You can't just leave and stick me with everything. The audacity of this man was impressive. Kamani, we have a lease together. So, tomorrow I'm going to call the landlord and ask to break the lease. But where am I going to live? Well, you can go live with Sarah. Silence on the other end. A YouTube channel off the ground with his friend Javon. The problem was that Kamani got paid per project and his income was pretty inconsistent. There were months where he made decent money and months where he barely covered his own expenses. And guess who covered the difference? Me. When he couldn't pay his half of the rent, I paid the whole thing. When he needed new equipment for his computer setup, I helped him out. When he didn't have money to go out, I paid for dinner, the movies, everything. And I didn't mind. I swear I didn't mind. I loved him. I thought I was investing in our future, in our relationship. I believed that when things took off for him, we'd be celebrating together. I was so foolish. My birthday fell on a Friday. I had taken the day off and was expecting a quiet day, maybe a romantic dinner that night. But Kaimani had other plans. He woke up before me, which was rare, and he already had that mischievous smirk on his face. "Good morning, birthday girl," he said, bringing me breakfast in bed. "Get ready for the best day of your life." My heart started racing. In recent months, I had made it clear, subtly and not so subtly, that I wanted to get married. We were already living together. We'd put in the time. We had built a life. I wanted to make it official. I wanted the commitment. I wanted to be his wife. "What are you plotting?" I asked, smiling, trying to control my anxiety. "You'll see. First, you have an appointment at the spa at 10 a.m. massage, facial, nails, everything paid for by me." He remembered. Months ago, in a silly conversation while we were watching a movie, I had mentioned that if he ever proposed, I wanted my nails done. It seemed frivolous, but for me the idea of Kamani putting a beautiful ring on a hand with ragged nails bothered. "Happening. You think we have a case?" "I'm sure of it, and I'll make sure they pay for it." We spent the whole day packing and moving my stuff. The neighbors watched with curiosity, but nobody asked anything. The neighbor from across the hall, Miss Ula, an older lady who had always been sweet to me, came to the door. "You leaving, sugar?" "Yes, Miss Ula, because of that boy." I nodded, not trusting my voice. She squeezed my hand. "You deserve better. I saw how he treated you. Never liked him." That broke me a little more. Even the neighbor had seen it. Everyone had seen it. Everyone except me. By the end of the day, the apartment was almost empty of my things. I had left the furniture we shared, the electronics, everything. I just wanted what was mine and to leave. Before walking out, I walked through the empty apartment one last time. 3 years in that place. 3 years of memories. Some good, a lot bad, now that I thought about it. I stopped at the door and looked back one last time. I didn't feel sadness. I felt relief. Back at my parents' house, settled in my old room, I finally let go. I cried, not for the Kamani I had lost, but for the time I had wasted. For the 6 years I had given to someone who never valued me. That night, lying in my bed, I had an idea. A terrible, wonderful, perfect idea. Kaimani had humiliated me publicly. He had faked a marriage proposal to play a prank, to make me look like an idiot. What if I did the same thing to him? The idea grew in my mind. Kamani always said he wanted to be a father. It was one of his biggest dreams. He talked about it constantly, about how he was going to be an amazing dad, about the kids we would have someday. And yes, I called Ayana. "Are you crazy?" she said when I told her. "My idea. But that is also genius. Need help? Help me do whatever it takes to make that idiot feel a tenth of what I felt." I spent Friday planning it. I copied a positive result I found on Google Images, put my name on it, and changed the date. I drafted the perfect text message. On Friday night, I sent it to Kamani. "Kamani, I need to tell you something. Despite everything that happened between us, you have a right to know. I'm pregnant. It's yours. I'm going to have the baby with or without you, but you need to handle child support. My dad is already handling the legal paperwork." I sent a photo of the positive result along with it. It took less than 5 minutes for him to reply. "What? Nyla, are you serious? I'm going to be a dad. Oh my God, I'm going to be a dad." The messages kept coming. He was euphoric, happy, ecstatic. "Nala, we need to talk about this in person. Please. I'm going to be a good father. I promise we'll make it work." I waited a whole day before replying. "We can talk at the apartment tomorrow at 3 p.m. But I'm not going alone. Ayana is coming with me. Okay, okay, I'll be there. Nala, thank you for telling me. Thank you for giving me this chance. That night, I could barely sleep. A part of me was nervous. Another part felt remorse. But the biggest part of me, the one that was still wounded and furious, was anxious to see his face when he discovered the truth. Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock sharp, Ayana and I arrived at the apartment. My heart was beating fast, but I was calm, focused, ready. Kamani was already there. When I opened the door, he jumped up from the sofa. He was holding a huge bouquet of flowers. There was a bag from an expensive store on the floor, and he looked happy. Genuinely happy in a way I hadn't seen in months. Niala, he said, coming toward me. I took a step back before he could touch me. Hi, Kamani. Hi, Ayana, he said to my friend, who just nodded with an icy expression. These flowers are for you, he said, handing me the book.